The COVID-19 outbreak last year has had a dramatic impact on people's lives, on people's daily travel, and on the economies of countries. People are also concerned about the change of COVID-19. So what I want to study and discuss today is the impact of COVID-19 on China's import and export trade and economy, as the title says. For the first type, I want to look at this question from three aspects: the impact on foreign country, the impact on Chinese export and import, and the impact on Chinese economy. Let's start with the first aspect, and we can break it down into three more detailed aspects. For the first one, social activity and cross-border travel and unemployment rate and disposable income. For the first one, is sharp decline in social activity. The rapid spread of the epidemic forced many countries into months of city closures in 2020, drastically reducing social economic activity. As a result, GDP plummeted to historical lows. The International Monetary Fund forecasts the global economy could contract by 4.4% this year before rebounding to 5.2% in 2021. The world economy began to recover in October, but returning to pre-epidemic level will be a long, uneven, and uncertain process. This is that figure shows as the restriction on international travel. So next, cross-border travel remains restricted. A major feature of the worldwide coronavirus blockade has been the total or partial closure of the world's borders, which has resulted in the termination of many international travel. The last one, the number of unemployed is rising rapidly. The recession caused by the epidemic was mainly reflected in the increase in unemployment. In some countries, the impact of COVID-19 on the labor market was 10 times greater than the observed in the first months of the 2008 global financial crisis. The COVID-19 epidemic has increased unemployment and reduced disposable income in foreign countries. Objectively, it results in the decrease of people's aggregate demand and the decrease of foreign flat demand. For the next step, the impact on Chinese export and import. We can cut this part into two phases. The first one is import structure and the impact on imports. The next one is export structure and the impact on exports. In terms of import structure, China's import products are mainly electromechanical, audiovisual equipment, that is, accessories, and mineral products. Among them, the most important products are raw materials, parts and components, semi-finished products, and fossil fuels needed in manufacturing production. For the former, due to China's relatively stable position in the global industrial chain as a manufacturing power, if the export market shrinks, the domestic import demand for raw materials, parts and semi-finished products will certainly shrink. However, as the epidemic is contained and China's manufacturing production recovers, imports of such products will rebound accordingly. And this evidence shows the variable change of Chinese import and export. Next, export structure and the impact on exports. In terms of export structure, China's main export products are industrial products, accounting for as high as 94%. As the epidemic spreads throughout the country during the Spring Festival, affected by it, the resumption of work of industrial enterprises throughout the Spring Festival was delayed. Transportation, logistics, warehousing, and other supporting industry were limited, and inspecting and contracting work was more stringent. This factor will reduce the production efficiency of export enterprises and increase the transaction cost and risk in the short term. And the impact on Chinese economy. We can cut this part into like a three stage. The first stage, the economy was hit hard. The second stage, expected retaliatory spending. And the third stage, the economic recovery. For the first stage, in the first quarter of this year, China's gross domestic product fell by 68% due to the COVID-19 epidemic. The worst on record and the first negative quarterly growth since the beginning of the century. This is in sharp contrast to China's super fast growth of 90.4% on average over the past 40 years. The slump was lower now, with deep negative growth in primary, secondary and tertiary industrial on supply side and in consumption, fixed assets in investment and exports on the demand side. In the first quarter, the output of the primary, secondary and tertiary industrial fell by 3.2%, 9.6%, and 5.2% respectively. Consumption, fixed assets investment and exports fell by 58%, 16.1%, and 16.6% respectively. The second stage, the retaliatory recovery that many had expected and hopes were based on both experiences, particularly retaliatory spending, didn't materialize in the second quarter. This is because the COVID-19 outbreak is significantly more intense than previous outbreaks such as ICSSH. Although the epidemic has basically subsided due to the continuous importance of overseas cases and the intermittent occurrence of local infections, people are still afraid of going out and there is no retaliatory consumption. Retail was still fell by 4%, and the resumption of work and production rate hasn't reached the ideal level. As a result, GDP growth of 3.2% in the second quarter is still not back to the pre-epidemic norm, leaving GDP still 1.6% lower in the first half than in the same period last year. At the same time, the market is waiting to see if the recovery can gain strength. What's next? Fortunately, in the third quarter, the epidemic continued to improve and economic activity further recovered. The rate of resuming work and production has continued to rise. More people are going out of their homes. Transportation and logistics have been improving. Macroeconomic policy. The government has not set on the two sessions this year's economic growth targets, but said it will continue to strive for the highest possible growth and believe that the year of a positive growth, and therefore didn't launch similar solutions like 4 trillion stimulus package, but gradually, directional, creative issue a series of easing. And China's sustainable economy recovery plan for the future. The most important thing for China is to do its own thing well. On the one hand, we should pay attention to the international United Front. On the other hand, we should firmly promote reform and opening up. In particular, we should promote the development of a new type of urbanization, reform the land system, reform the fiscal and taxing system, equalize income distribution, unleash the vitality of the private sector, and reform the education, science and technology system so as to respond to the new global political and economic landscape in the period of COVID-19 with reform and opening up. And in the end, I have a best wish. It is hoped that countries and people around the world will no longer be threatened by COVID-19. No injuries, pain, and deaths from the epidemic. People no longer have to worry about the death of a loved one, travel restriction, and career. Let's hope the world returns to the way it was before the epidemic. So all of the thing was I want to talk about my instruction. So thank you for listening. Thank you.